G'day everyone, Duckville here, bringing you some Heart of the Swarm action. This time we're going to look at a Zerg versus Zerg. It's going to be an interesting one. I did sort of have a quick look at what goes on in this one because it was a really interesting time length for this type of match. But of course we are in Heart of the Swarm where everyone's testing out all new sorts of things. As you can see, one of our players down to the bottom side of Core City, down at the 6 o'clock position on this ridiculously huge map, is a coLGoswser. He's down here in the red. He's looking good with all those drones popping out. It's going to be all fun. You can see, of course, the little worker number tab here. If you want me to keep some of these, of course, everyone knows there are all sorts of crazy little changes to Heart of the Swarm to show, you know, how many are in gas, how many workers are on the mineral patches, and all that kind of thing. If you want to see these kinds of things, make sure you let me know. If you don't want to see them, please let me know, and we'll just sort of, I don't know, we'll do a little democratic vote of who wants to see what, and if you guys like to see how many workers there are on the mineral patches, we'll keep it on. And if it's a bit too distracting, or you know you do know how to count, that's all good. We'll get rid of it. But anyway, his opponent, coLGoswser's opponent, up at the top side at the 12 o'clock is the Blue Zerg, a Liquid Sheth. Thank you very much to Tree Hugger from Team Liquid for helping out with getting me a couple of these reps. Of course, you will be able to see more of the Team Liquid reps. I believe there are going to be some Heart of the Swarm reps that are about to come out from the team. You can see those over on teamliquidpro.com, and of course you can follow Team Liquid Pro on Twitter as well, and follow me on Twitter while you're there as well if you don't already. It's at DuckvilleLol. But yeah, anyway, Heart of the Swarm, Zerg. What are we talking about here? We've got things like the Swarm Host. We've got of course, the Viper. We've also got a couple of changes to some of the units. Of course, Hydras now get their extra speed boost, which really helps them out to be a more effective unit. Of course, in Wings of Liberty, you rarely see Hydras come out apart from this particular matchup. Of course, in Zerg versus Terran, they get obliterated by pretty much every single unit that Terran has. And in Zerg versus Protoss, of course, once a Colossus is out, all of your Hydras are dead. So I think even as a non-Zerg player, like I play Protoss, then of course Terran is my second race, but even as a totally non-Zerg person, I agree that they really needed to be buffed, given that they're kind of one of the sort of signature units of Zerg. I would say is to have a Hydra out there spitting out of its little shoulder neck thingy, whatever it spits out of. I still to this day don't exactly know. I'm pretty sure it's their shoulder, which is just weird. But anyway, in Heart of the Swarm, of course, with those extra units, we do. I've been playing a bit of Heart of the Swarm as random, so I have run into some sort of. I've had a couple of Zerg versus Zerg games, which were very interesting. One of them, one guy just tried to do like mass speedlings, and I just kind of laughed because even I know that you just grab a few banelings and that kind of thing is dead. Another game, I had a little bit of a Roach versus. I was Roach Infester against a guy who was Roach and Swarm Host, and the Swarm Host just annihilated everything. Of course, the locusts that the Swarm Hosts hatch do quite a lot of damage. They had a range of 3, but I believe that has been reduced to 2 now. Just keep in mind, guys, that this is pre-patch with carriers. So, this is before the Locust range got nerfed, just slightly. It's not a huge nerf, but some of the players were a little bit worried about how much damage they were doing. A little bit of micro here from coLGoswser to keep his... Oh, lost one drone. I was going to say that was actually quite nice to get to keep all of those drones alive and kill both those lings, but unfortunately he got shot, as we saw. And... yeah, so I'm thinking that Swarm Hosts are going to be an interesting part of this particular matchup. It's going to make it that this isn't totally just a... because, of course, in Wings of Liberty, Zerg versus Zerg, you see a lot of Baneling Ling micro battle, all that sort of thing. You see Roach Hydra, you see Roach Infester. On the odd occasion, the extremely odd occasion, you'll get to late game and see some things such as Broodlords, and sometimes you may see Mutalisks as well, but I don't think too many people use that these days. But anyway, so I'm thinking Swarm Host, a little bit of a go-to unit at the moment. They do so much damage. They clean up Lings in like half a second. You'll see them sweep through Roaches as well. So I would not be surprised to see one of these guys head up towards that tech pretty quickly. But meanwhile, we've got these guys. These guys are chatting this whole time. It's very, very cute from between these guys. Sheth just telling a coLGoswser to tell his queens that they're BM because they killed a couple of those Lings. And as we can see, Worker tab pretty even at the moment. Looks like Sheth is just mining a little bit more gas at the moment. I'm not sure what went on just there, but coLGoswser, he did attempt to put some of these drones into the gas, but he's actually he clicked them onto the queen, I think. But here we go. He's got his third macro hatch going up. He's also got the extra drones inside the third and the fourth gas as well. So things just starting to ramp up now is when you'll start seeing things switch around a bit. And as you can see, Infestation Pit going up. These, of course, allow access to the Swarm Hosts, which do get an upgrade in the Infestation Pit as well, which lets the Locust last a little bit longer. Helps out in those long battles, which we may see. Drone count still looking good. Sheth just a little bit further up now. He's up to 59 drones at the moment. His opponent coLGoswser is down at 48, but they are he is switching into his lair tech. It's a little bit later than where Sheth is, so he's going to be a little bit further behind on that. Now, what's his trade-off there? He will have a few roaches out and may be able to do a little bit of pressure, but of course, one thing about this map, look at how big this map is. This is the path to get to your opponent. You come to a Xel'Naga watchtower in the middle, then you've got to go all the way up through here to get to where your opponent is. And so by the time that happens, of course, in ZvZ, where you have so much map vision, it's pretty much a thing that your opponent will be ready to go by the time you get there. Now, we'll just have a quick look at this interesting thing about this map. The third base, or sort of what is effectively a third base, as we can see here, has a collapsible rock tower next to where you put the hatchery or your nexus or your command center. So you can put it down here, and the thing is, if your opponent comes down, which Sheth has done right here, which is a beautiful tactic, is to knock down the rocks, which then leaves a 2,000 rock debris tower here that you have to clean up before you can take your third. Now, the other option, of course, you're saying, oh wow, well Zerg is basically screwed. Not the case. You can take the hatchery before that happens. If your opponent destroys the collapsible rock tower after you've built the hatchery or something like that, it doesn't destroy the building, any units that are nearby. So let's say the hatchery, it goes down here, right? As we can see, this little spot here, it's around about here, where the rocks will fall down across this way. If there are any workers sort of in this range here, they have a chance. They sort of have a chance to be, I don't know how you'd say it, effectively hit by the rocks. Is how is sort of the best way to put it. So you can use that to sort of block off your opponent. It is quite nice to see. And now I can see here that Sheth has gotten out those swarm hosts. As we can see, here are those little locusts. They look like a little bit of a cross between. They look like interceptors in a way, just sort of fat interceptors. But here they go, doing some damage here. We've got some more now sprouting out. 14 damage, range 3, weapon speed 0.8, so they shoot quite quickly. And as we can see, with the support of some Lings, these roaches aren't going to get too far. There is an Overseer here to spot those burrowed swarm hosts, but look at all this damage they're doing. The locusts are just chewing through all of those units as quickly as they do. And now it looks as if some queens will be next in line on the menu for those locusts, but as we can see, their timer, they drop out after that 25 game seconds, or I think it's 25 game seconds, but coLGoswser, he's not going to give up just yet. He's going to head inside to Sheth's third base, going to take down some of these drones, perhaps even get that hatchery if he is able to. But as we can see, more locusts are just now starting to swarm through into the base. Actually, now you think about it, swarm host to locust swarm, never mind. But the roaches do get a kill here, take down the hatchery. Collapsible rock towers under attack by some of these locusts, which is a little bit interesting, but the roaches will go down, and that is going to be the end of the attack for the moment. But here, as we can see, is coLGoswser going to be able to get the tower? I would love to see him take that down, but no, in fact, Sheth's going to take that down. He's BM to himself. He put the rocks down where the hatchery would be going, so the locusts and the Lings are going to have to clean that up before the drone can get down here and place the hatchery. As we can see, this guy is going to arrive and say, oh no, my house has had a rock slide. But anyway, so Looks like coLGoswser is now switching into his own swarm host. He's also got infestors available. Some roaches are just popping out as well. As you can see, the other option for a third base, which is closer to yours and a little bit more protected, is actually covered by destructible debris just straight out of the gate. So you won't be able to take that one without getting rid of the rocks there. And as we can see, Sheth has cleared up the rocks of his own here, and now it looks like can't kill the rocks, So Sheth is going to, looks as if he's going to switch in and just go mass swarm hosts here. He's got quite a lot of them on the way and also out already. He's got 10 on the way. We've got, why is it separated them? It's separated one. Okay, so they're the non-burrowed ones. That's a little bit odd, you don't always see that. But Sheth is going to have a little quick scout across the map. He's going to try and find out what his opponent is up to. All of these links just heading across will find that the destructible debris is still around at the moment. We got a little bit of creep spread here from coLGoswser. He's now going to perhaps, I wonder if he's going to push that creep spread out. Of course, in Zerg vs Zerg, your creep spread is a little bit of an interesting thing because it can provide you with a little bit of an advantage, but it also can provide you with a disadvantage if your opponent is able to utilize it. So a couple of queens caught out in the middle of the map. Not sure what the plan there was for coLGoswser, but he does get caught out. A couple of queens going down and some lings as well. But looks as if Sheth is just starting to get his economy ramped back up. He's up to 69 drones at the moment. He's also got some, I believe, yep, there, the tech. We got Evo chambers going up. Of course, the +1 to the missile attacks and the carapace for those swarm hosts will help out, of course, with the locusts to pop out. And here we go, he's going to rally those down. So you don't even need to cast these locusts yourself, just need to rally the locusts down to where you want to start attacking. They'll move down there and start hitting all of those units that they can. Looks as if they will clean up some of these roaches. Perhaps the roaches will get away. Are they going to try and do a little bit of a run by? No, they're just going to try and occupy while the locusts go down. Now, it is important to note that the locusts are susceptible to air attack because, of course, they can't shoot up because that would just make them incredibly ridiculous. But so you can use things like Mutalisks if you want to, even if you want to grab just 1 or 2 Broodlords, throw them into the mix and then use them from long range to take down the swarm host. You can cause a dramatic shift in what your opponent wants to do. Now, as we can see, looks like Sheth did get a couple of lings down into the third base of coLGoswser. The queen under attack. I don't know if she's going to go down though because the extra units now coming inside. The swarm host now just rolling around. It looks like they're like those units from Mario with the mushrooms on their back. I can't remember what they're called. But Hive is now done. Are we going to see some higher tech here from coLGoswser? I'm not sure. We may see him pick up the Enduring Locust upgrade. There it is, 200, 200. Increases the lifetime by 10 seconds. It's quite significant when you consider how many locusts can come out of the swarm hosts and how many swarm hosts are available with all of the support of these infestors as well. And the lings also on the ground here, able to do some extra damage, but it looks as if coLGoswser has found a little bit of a weak spot in Sheth's defense. Does get past the initial little defense here, which was only 1 spine crawler. So now he's going to head into the third base, going to take that one down pretty easily. And now he's actually going to send some more lings up into the main. In fact, the in-base natural, of course, I didn't point that out, but I assume you guys saw that there was an in-base natural. And now coLGoswser is just going to poke inside, going to get some really good damage done. But meanwhile, on his side of the map, Sheth has effectively sieged up this particular position here. Now, as we can see, this is swarm host versus swarm host. How do you deal with this? Of course, you need some detection to find out where your opponent is, or you need to use some of those fungals that are available inside the infestors. Now, it's sort of decision of whether you want to use the fungals or not, but of course if you want to, it does give you the vision, and it also does do a little bit of damage to the swarm host. Now, this is a bit of a locust versus locust battle, which will of course depend on the upgrades. As we can see, Sheth locusts do have 1-1 and coLGoswser do have 1-0, so Sheth has a little bit of an advantage yet, not to mention I'm pretty sure he has the unit count yet, 22, 25 almost swarm hosts are out for Sheth, but he does have a couple of those just sitting here at the base at the moment. But still, inside Sheth's main base, he did lose his main hatchery, which was here. Luckily for him, he actually switched around the natural, what is effectively the natural hatchery, over to the hive, so that's still alive, giving him the availability of tech as needed. But now, Sheth just is starting to lose a little bit of ground here and now with the infested Terrans. As you can see, their egg is a little bit different now. It doesn't look exactly the same. They're like they're doing a somersault in the air, but they do get taken out very quickly by the Locust. Now with 1-2 for Sheth. He's got more infestors and lings on the way. Also Burrow. I would not be surprised if we're going to see him get a few roaches out very soon. But Sheth going to need to restart this economy just a little bit. Needs to pick up this 4th base again. He of course does have that 3rd over there, but now it looks like what is coLGoswser going to do? This is sort of a stalemate position here. Of course, Sheth does have the upgrade advantage with the 1-2. But it's still a very difficult position to push into when you're trying to deal with all of these swarm hosts. The thing that he is doing, though, is denying this 4th base for coLGoswser, and with no other bases taken by coLGoswser, he's not able to really get too much more of an income coming through. Now, as you can see, he is a little bit above Sheth because of all the damage that he did, but Sheth is still going to hold this position and, in fact, gets a couple of kills on the swarm hosts. And that is going to perhaps change the tide. So we'll see if Sheth starts to move through. He looks like he is starting to waddle through with some of those swarm hosts. But a good catch. Beautiful fungal on top of around about 6 or 7 of those swarm hosts for coLGoswser. He does get a little bit of damage on them. A couple more fungals here, and that would be brilliant for him. There he goes. Does get him. They're going to explode in a... Oh, there they are. Picking up a couple of kills there is coLGoswser. So he's going to try and even the score at the moment. It is currently 22 swarm hosts for coLGoswser to the 20 of Sheth. Of course, 3 of these are unburrowed. I don't know exactly where they are. I'd say they're... Okay, some of them are up here, but a couple are also on the way down the map, so he's going to try and reinforce as quickly as he can. It is just constant swarm host production here between these two players. It's incredible. But Sheth will have the upgrade advantage very soon. He's going to have +3 on his missile weapons, +2 on the carapace, but coLGoswser, with the unit count advantage, is going to be able to push this back, I think. Sheth is going to need to be very careful with how he proceeds from here. You probably wouldn't want to sort of unburrow and just start heading out here, but a couple of fungals on top of the Locust is an interesting choice there from Sheth, but he does clean those up quite quickly. His own Locust now sweeping through the field here. Meanwhile, at coLGoswser's 3rd base, it looks like this base has still got quite a few minerals available. His main base is, of course, gone. His natural is getting quite low as well. The drone count sitting at 64 for coLGoswser at the moment, 51 for Sheth. So Sheth, of course, a little bit further behind because he did lose quite a few of the drones in the main base and the 3rd. But it looks like Sheth is going to retreat. He's figured out that he's a little bit behind on the swarm host count at the moment. Look at this. It is a crazy minefield of swarm hosts here for coLGoswser. They're going to hatch some more of those locusts. He's going to try and take down the destructible debris here. But now Sheth is on the way back. He's regened a little bit of health and he's going to head back. Got some more energy on these infestors as well. So we'll probably see him start to push through. What he wants to try and do is make sure that he can block his opponent from taking this base. If he can do that, and he should be in a good position through this game, given that Sheth does have his own 3rd and 4th already up and running. So is going the distance. I was very surprised we haven't actually seen too much hive tech from either of these players. They're just sticking with the swarm host for the moment. Of course, with some of the upgrades that have come out from Sheth, he's going to be able to push a little bit harder. coLGoswser is still lagging behind a bit on those upgrades. So while he will have a little bit of a unit advantage at the moment, Sheth now popping out 6 more of those swarm hosts. So he's going to really recoup his forces and get them all together. As we can see, we got infestors burrowing. They're going to do their Jaws impression, heading down the right-hand side of the map. He's probably, I would say, he's going to try and, yep, there he goes. He's coming into what is possibly going to be the 4th base of coLGoswser. But now, as we can see, we are going to have a reverse situation of before. Looks like coLGoswser is going to try and pressure his opponent into making a bad move, but as we can see, some of the swarm hosts, a nice little bit of micro here from Sheth, moving back some of the hurt swarm hosts. I keep going to say infestors because it's what you're used to casting. But coLGoswser, he's going to move up himself. He's let loose some of these locusts at the moment. They're going to try and do some more damage here, sieging up this base. And then he's going to try and move into a little bit more of an advantageous position. He's moved into effectively exactly where Sheth was before. And now, as we can see, looks like the infestor train is on the way down. How has Oh, that's. I was going to say, how has that Overseer not seen? But as we can see, Sheth dropping down. Some infested Terrans going to lay waste to the space here, of course, with their upgrades. 2-3, doing quite a lot of damage. And here we go. As we can see, it looks as if the battle is on. Fungals and locusts all over the place. The unit count is 36. Swarm host for coLGoswser to 26 for Sheth. So Sheth is at a little bit of a disadvantage here. So he's going to lose some of these swarm hosts. As we can see, a little bit of micro from coLGoswser enabling him to push through and take care of quite a lot of that. But Sheth is doing his own terrorizing down inside coLGoswser's main base, getting rid of the getting rid of the hive, I should say, not the hair. That's a combination of the hive and the lair, if you weren't sure. But he is going to just absolutely wreak havoc here. As we can see, coLGoswser is down to effectively nothing. He's got a spawning pool, a roach warrant, and an evo chamber, and just this third base here. So he is in quite a lot of trouble, I would say. But if he can do a lot of damage with these swarm hosts, he's moving into position here. He wants to try and get into a really good spot, and he has got one right now. Lucas now trying to push through. Is he going to be able to do enough damage? I'm not sure, because Sheth is just sieged up in this beautiful spot here. We got an Overseer to detect those burrowed swarm hosts if he needs to push out and attack them. But now, as we can see, looks like Sheth has already done so much damage. Now with the extractor gone, spawning pool gone, a hatchery being built as well to try and save the day. I think coLGoswser is just trying to rely on the fact that he does have quite a significant count of his swarm hosts at the moment. He is starting to push through, as we can see. Infested Terran and Locust teaming up. They make the ultimate team, as you can see, doing so much damage there, with the Infested Terrans doing their 8 damage, and of course the Locust doing 14 damage. That is quite a lot to be done. He's actually tearing through quite a lot of the swarm hosts of Sheth. Is he going to come back here? I'm not too sure. He's going to have a lot of trouble keeping his bases alive, because those infestors are still around. We got a couple of them down at the third base, and I think, yep, there's a couple at what would normally be the fourth base of coLGoswser. So he is pushing in. He's going to try and do some more damage, perhaps going to find some of the tech of Sheth. Looks like he is going to remove some of these drones as well, but the locusts die out and another wave are born, and here they go. There is a whole bunch of those, but here it is, the switch for Sheth. He's got some mutalisks out, infested Terrans dropping down to try and help with the defense against those mutas, but the mutas are just too much. They've already got a large presence across the map here, just going to try and take down these swarm hosts as quickly as they can. Looks as if he's going to try and just target them down and get rid of them as and if he can, he should be able to secure the win here. I think that Sheth is going to take this. The mutas are just way too much for him to try and defend against. Meanwhile, coLGoswser again is under siege. His hatchery down at the fourth, or what is effectively down the main base now, is under attack. And meanwhile, some more infested Terrans dropping out inside the main base, going to clean up the rest of the tech here for coLGoswser. Mutas are out, as we can see, and I would not be surprised to just see Sheth go for a few more mutas and just clean this up. He's lost some of his gas income, as we can see here. The work account for Sheth is down to 21, so he has not gone without his own losses, but I think the big issue here is that coLGoswser has no anti-air. He's trying to get a Spore Crawler up before that Evo Chamber dies, but it is a little bit too late, I think. A couple more are just about to pop up as well. There's one here at the what would normally be that third base, but he is about to lose that. The Buta's doing so much damage, and he is going to clean this up quite easily. Going to get rid of this last remaining Spore Crawler at the coLGoswser side of the map. Meanwhile, some Locusts now pushing through, cleaning up the third base of Sheth, but I think the damage has already been done. coLGoswser sitting on 92 supply. Sheth, meanwhile, on 83, so he is a little bit behind, but he does have the advantage of position and the advantage of a way better tech for this current situation. So Sheth is probably going to take this one. Looks as if he's going to clean up that Roach Warren and be done with it. I don't think there are any more buildings out on the map. No, there aren't. And that is going to be it for coLGoswser. The Swarm Host trying to do some more damage. He's rebuilt the base. Where is he? Okay, he's rebuilt it over here. I'm not sure what he thinks he's going to be able to do with this. He does have a lot of Swarm Hosts inside Sheth's base, but I don't think it's going to be enough damage. And there you go. Hatchery goes down. coLGoswser has left the game, of course, unfortunately, with no more buildings left for him. That is it. What a crazy, crazy Zerg versus Zerg game. Mass Swarm Hosts with a dash of Infestors, Roaches, and a few Lings, and then Sheth switching across for the Desert of Mutas, just sweeping through, cleaning up the rest of the Swarm Host. So that's one thing got to be really careful of when you're playing Zerg versus Zerg in Heart of the Swarm, is that switch across across the mutas if you've gone for quite a lot of swarm hosts. Make sure you've got a few of those infestors out so you can fungal those mutas, and if you can, you may be able to secure that victory. If not, Sheth may be sweeping through and taking you down with those mutas. And with that, I'll thank you very much, and of course make sure you check out teamliquidpro.com, and yeah, hope you all had fun. I'll see you all next time. Cheers.